Thank you and good afternoon. This is Zane Bond for Sam Sports Report. Today's date is Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. On to the Monday night game, Denver versus Buffalo. Monday Night Football, Denver Broncos was playing another good game. It was tied at 15. And then a 3-yard touchdown and a 2-point conversion by the Bills. But the Broncos. The Bills got a touchdown to make it Bills 22 and Broncos 21. And then a final drive to get a field goal at the gun, which made it Broncos winners 24-22 as they get the upset. Raiders 16-12. Had 86 yards. Josh Jacobs had 116 yards in the ground game for the Raiders. Zach Wilson was not great. He did have 260. Wilson had 9 for 93. 325 games, the Cowboys blew out the Giants. Dak Prescott had a good day. Brandon Cook also had a good day with 173 yards and touchdown. Daniel Jones did not start. Tom Mulvetti did. Is it the end for Daniel Jones?
Lions. And it's an interesting spot for the Giants to be because it's not a given what they do. Again, Daniel Jones on a $160 million contract, but all of a sudden the Giants looking like a team that's going to have a very, very high draft pick. What comes next totally overshadows every game I think the Giants are going to play from here on out. And it's not to say they won't win anymore. Been around the NFL long enough to know that's more than likely going to happen. You see surprising results in this league all the time. But now the focus shifts to what Brian Daboll and GM Joe Schoen are going to do. And I do think it will be Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen who make this decision. I think winning coach of the year, making the playoffs, winning a playoff game, I assume that buys you the benefit of the doubt that you are the guys to move the team forward in this era. I would be surprised if the Giants made a change at the top of their hierarchy. So now the intrigue becomes, what direction do they guide this franchise? Jones signed the extension, $160 million, $40 million a year. But as is usually the case with these types of deals, there's always an out. There's always a way you don't have to finish it. I do think it's hard for the Giants to move on in the year 2024. Jones is now injured. The idea of a trade of a guy who not only has a huge contract, but also a major injury that he needs to rehab from seems incredibly unlikely that you could move him in a trade. Not realistic to release him either. So 2025, I think, is when it becomes feasible to talk about not having Daniel Jones on the team. So should 1 year that you don't have, or should 1 year that you are committed to Daniel Jones keep you from doing something bold at the top of the NFL draft, like taking a quarterback, like drafting a Drake May, a Caleb Williams, name your quarterback. There's going to be a dozen of them in this year's draft. I would present to you that it shouldn't. Absolutely not. I know that's harsh for Daniel Jones. I know Daniel Jones has had moments, but this is the 5th year since the Giants drafted Daniel Jones in the top 10 way back in 2019. There have been moments, but not nearly enough that should make the Giants confident that they need to tie their franchise to him any longer than they already have. If you've got to carry him for 1 more year, maybe you could even have Daniel Jones be your starter until a rookie is ready next year. I think that's feasible. But I do think that's where this heads. I think if the Giants really do that, climb that high in the draft order, not only do I think it's something they should consider, I think it's something they absolutely should do if the opportunity presents itself. That's life in the NFL. Probably harsh for Daniel Jones to hear, but I think he has an understanding of that better than most. Remember, his career began with him replacing Eli Manning, one of the greatest legends in New York Giants history. So it's the cycle of life in the NFL. We'll see where it goes. Hoping the best for a healthy, productive recovery for Daniel Jones. Hate to see anybody's season end in an injury, but these are the types of conversations that surround the New York Giants now. Is what direction does this franchise go? Does it include Daniel Jones in the long term? We'll see what they decide to do. again, that's months and months away.
Edge out the Chargers 41-38, 30-38 for Goff, two touchdowns. David Montgomery 116 and one touchdown. Keenan Allen 175 and two touchdowns through the air, and only on three touchdowns. And Martin St. Brown had 156 on one touchdown. Justin Herbert had 323 and three touchdowns. Detroit wins 41-38. The rest of the games are the 12 o'clock games. The Colts beat the Patriots in a low-scoring game, 10-6. Mac Jones had a ball that was intercepted at the end. The Pats dropped it 2-8. The Colts are 5-5. Here's reactions from Bill Belichick and Stephen A. Smith on Bill Belichick's job. The 49ers and Jags met up 34-3. I thought this would be a close game, but it wasn't. The 49ers were on the road. They were 2-point favorites with the Jags. It was the 49ers, though, rolling the show. Brock Purdy had 269 yards and goes for three touchdowns. And Christian McCaffrey has 95 yards. George Kittle has 116. The Jags are 6-3, dropping. The 49ers advanced to 6-3. The Titans lost to the Buccaneers 20-6. Baker Mayfield had 278 yards, and Mike Evans had 173 yards and 6 receptions. Falcons and Cardinals. Cardinals won in a close one, 27-25. Cardinals advanced to just 2-8. 200 for Murray and 131 yards for Bijan Robinson. Falcons, Bijan Robinson had 95 yards and a rushing. 27-25 was your final again. Cards win. Vikings beat the Saints. Former Cardinal Joshua Dobbs had 268 yards. T.J. Hawkinson had 134 yards. Chris Olive had 94 yards. And the final was 27-19. Vikings are 5-5. Saints are 6-4. Derek Carr had 2 injuries, a concussion, a right shoulder, to go out of the game. Jameson Winston came in after. Steelers beat the Packers 23-19. And the Packers dropped to 3-6, and the Steelers advanced to 6-3. Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson had 223 yards and 1 touchdown and 2 INTs. Jordan Love has 289 but has 2 touchdowns and 2 INTs. Jay Warren going for 101 and Jay Warren goes for 101 and 1 touchdown. 23-19 is the final. Packers dropped to 3-6. Steelers advanced to 6-3. Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson goes for 1 touchdown, 223, 2 INTs. Deshaun Watson goes for 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That it was an INT to Jackson that made 1 point at 1 point a game. Also was a touchdown, but there was a missed point, then a field goal to give the Steelers the win at the gun. At the gun to give the Browns a win, 33-31. Houston Texans and Cincinnati Bengals. C.J. Stroud goes for 358 and 1 touchdown. Devontae Singletary goes for 150 and 30 carries and 1 touchdown. Nate Brown goes for 172, 7 receptions. Jamar Chase goes for 5 for 124. Touchdown. Tyler Boyd goes 117 through the air and touchdown. The only player that we mentioned was Devin Singletary through the ground. A field goal at the gun helps the Texans win 30-27, 27-17 with 12:17 left in the game. But with 3:18, they scored a touchdown to make it 27-24. Then the Bengals would tie it at 27, but then the Texans would come back with a field goal of their own to win it. In college basketball, Mizzou advances to 2-1. SIU drops to 1-2. $68-50 was the final. Shawnee's finishes with 20. Kansas State beats South Dakota State 91-68. Cam Carter finishes 25 for Kansas State. Tonight, Kentucky will play Kansas 6.5 as a line. Well, here's with more with John Calipari's job. 9:30 tip-off. Kansas is favored by 6.5. That's Sam Vaughn Sports. Thank you and have a good afternoon.